Hey everybody, it's Daniel here from InfoRest. Hope you're all doing well. So I got an interesting article here. It comes out from the Federal Reserve of San Francisco, Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, and this is on their blog, and it was released today. It's basically titled Data Revisions and Pandemic Era Excess Savings. So basically the article goes over the excess savings, right? The amount of savings that is still in people's bank accounts, right? Especially after the COVID pandemic, a lot of people got stimulus checks, stimmy checks. A lot of them got EIs, unemployment insurance, just free money from the government, right? And so the San Francisco Fed basically came out and revised its data and discussed about a couple of things, couple of patterns, and what they're seeing in the consumers' savings accounts, right? And whether they still have this cash cushion or not. So I'm gonna go over this article in this video. I'll also leave a link in the description so you could read up on it and go through the whole thing as well. Let's get into it. So basically, it starts off saying a comprehensive data revision shows the amount of pandemic era excess savings still available in the U.S. In the U.S. economy may be larger than previously estimated and is likely to last in the first half of 2024. So the first two lines basically summarize that, hey, there is still a large amount of excess savings that is in the U.S. economy, and they have estimated basically a different number before this, and they came to know that those numbers were basically wrong, and actually it is higher than what they expected, right? And they were basically projecting that these savings are, you're going to see basically the savings deplete by this quarter of this year. But they actually said in this article that they pushed it to the first half of 2024. Now, we talked about the savings, the fiscal money from the government, the excess cash. This is important because this is what is still keeping the economy afloat, right? Even though you may argue that, we're in a recession, there's signs of jobs, declining, unemployment rate moving up higher, but we have yet to see the actual blow, the actual credit event, the actual hard landing, right? That happens later on. It takes its time. So as of right now, the data softening, inflation softening, but not to a point where you see that typical recession, that typical credit event, the typical hard landing, which I expect to see sometime in the future. So, and what's keeping this, recession call for so long is this excess savings, is this excess cash, this excess spending, especially from the fiscal side of things. So it's very interesting that here, San Francisco, right, the Fed came out just to revise basically their data and say that, they now expect this savings to even prolong and probably likely to finish in the first half of 2024. So let me go through the article a little bit more. It says earlier this year, we have examined household saving patterns since the onset of pandemic recession showed that relative to previous recessions, households rapidly accumulated unprecedented levels of excess savings defined as difference between actual savings and pre-recession trend. That amounted to about 2.1 trillion. In subsequent update, our analysis suggested that pandemic era excess savings were on track to be fully depleted during the third quarter of 2023. So they basically expected that this number was the $2.1 trillion of excess savings that was in the economy was expected by the Fed that was going to be depleted this quarter of this year. But they came out and they said, however, the BEA, the Bureau of Economic Analysis, released a comprehensive update to its national economic data on September 28th, which significantly expands our estimates of excess savings. So with this new BEA number that came out, they got to update their forecast. So this update includes revisions to the household spending and savings data since 2013. The BEA typically conducts its comprehensive updates every 5 years to incorporate the U.S. Consensus Bureau latest economic consensus results, the building blocks of BEA's economic estimates, and to implement its methodology changes when needed. So what is this addition? How much is this addition? If we scroll down, it says here, our updated estimates suggest that households held about 430 billion of aggregate excess savings by September 2023. And these excess savings are likely to continue being drawn down in the first half of 2024. To help track how this evolves, we have launched a monthly data page, and there's a link there where you can go into it. So basically, they said that, according to the BA, there's actually an additional $430 billion that is still sitting there, excess savings in the consumer's hands. And that's going to take longer to deplete. So we forecast that the first half of next year, that amount's going to deplete. So if you scroll down in the chart, there's basically figure 1, a nice chart that shows higher excess savings that are remaining in the economy. It shows a cumulative aggregate excess savings, and it shows a chart where it starts from 2.1 trillion, and it shows its previous revisions, before the revision, and it shows a number where a dotted line where it shows that it's coming down to basically zero. So from 2.1 trillion to zero by this quarter. But with the new update of about $400 billion, that line has now moved up. So you're still seeing the 2.1 trillion and still a large amount of depletion of savings, but it's going to take longer, right? So it estimates that, okay, by first half of 2024, we will see zero rather than now. So on the chart, it shows revisions and latest estimates as of September of this year. And if you scroll down, it also shows another chart which shows that how much drawdowns have happened. So they basically said that, okay, the accumulated savings during 2020, 2021 was about 2.1 trillion. And after 2021, starting 2022, there have been drawdowns. So that number has been coming down, 2.1 trillion. So that aggregate tends to be around 1.7 trillion of a drawdown out of its 2.1 trillion. So there's still excess savings, right? There's still about 0.4 trillion left of excess savings in the economy, and this is still keeping the float, right? Still keeping the economy still there, still keeping that credit event, that hard landing from pushing it further out, and that's why you're not really seeing anything crazy happen, because this amount of money that's been trickled in the economy, it's still rolling, and people still have savings that they can tap into. So if this data is correct and there's no more revisions, and if they have it right, then according to this, by the first quarter of next year, you should see basically that excess savings that consumers have go to zero. And then what happens then, right? If they need more money, well, the consumers will be tapping into credit if they haven't already been doing. I'm sure that there are consumers out there tapping into a lot of credit. There is data to show that as well, that credit levels are at all-time highs. But especially when you get excess savings at zero, and this number to now go into negative territory, that more credit's being utilized, and then you can expect the demand to really slow down, and then probably you will see after the first quarter of next year, the data start to soften, the jobs, the growth data, inflation data, and so on, and then all eyes on what happens next in terms of rate hikes. The Fed, do they do more, do they not, and what happens in terms of, do we see some sort of credit event, some sort of crunch that really exacerbates the data of getting worse off. So anyways, check it out. I'll leave the link in the description. You can read up on this article here, this blog. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below, subscribe, hit the like button, bell icon to be notified on the next video, and I'll see you guys around. Cheers. Bye.